And thank you for staying with us here on Joy Prime. This is Prime Insight, and of course we'll be getting into the details for you. Why don't we do that now by first of all getting onto the phone lines and speaking to Nana Bafwewa, who's Mensah South MP. He's also a lawyer, because we understand that some members of the NPP are unhappy about this whole decision by the government of Ghana to allow more West African nationals to come through the country. And we understand that that's part of a third agreement with the United States over Donald Trump's deportation arrangement. Is the reason for which many are raising questions as to what exactly is contained in this deal. Some are, pointing to Article 75 of the Constitution, and of course going way back to 2017 when the court made that pronouncement on the Gitmo 2 case, requesting the government of Ghana to first of all ratify the agreement. The belief is that if that's not done, then everything government is doing now is unconstitutional. So why is the NPP now planning to head to court over this? And what more would the party do to engage government on the need to just bring before Parliament details of this arrangement? Nana Bafwewa is with us. But first of all, what I want us to do is to get the perspective and the context that the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has been providing on this matter. He's been speaking in an exclusive interview with Bernard Avler. We can listen to excerpts of that, then get to hear from of course, Nana Bafwewa on that. But I understand that this is actually the explanation of the Government Accountability Series instead, because the minister subsequent to that has been holding some interviews. But let's listen to that Government Accountability Series and hear the justification from the Foreign Affairs Minister on that.
The government of Ghana took the principled and humanitarian decision to accept the limited number of West African nationals deported from the United States under exceptional circumstances, in line with Ghana's long-standing Pan-African ideals and unwavering commitment to regional solidarity. Many of these individuals were being held in detention, which was both psychologically and physically distressing. They were also faced with the risk of being deported to countries that are not safe and do not have the stability and human rights credentials Ghana is famed for. You need to note that President Trump has secured a positive verdict from the US Supreme Court that he could go ahead and remove these nationals and dump them anywhere. As a nation that upholds the dignity and rights of all people, particularly those of African descent, Ghana's action was guided solely by our moral responsibility, our legal obligations under the 1992 Constitution and ECOWAS protocols, our distinguished Pan-African track record, and historic and legendary leadership in championing the rights of all Africans. Let me emphasize that under this understanding with the United States, Ghana must first independently vet the background of those the US intends to deport, to first satisfy ourselves that they do not pose any threat to the security of our country and that they cannot harm our citizens. We have put in place strict safeguards to ensure that convicted, hardened criminals cannot be brought into our country under this understanding. The Mahama administration will never compromise the safety and well-being of Ghanaians. This understanding with the US has been thoroughly discussed by Cabinet and has also received the Attorney General's advice. By established convention, MOUs are not sent to Parliament for ratification. I have inherited hundreds of MOUs from the previous administration, which were not sent to Parliament for ratification. May I assure the nation that if this initial understanding is elevated into a full-blown agreement, we shall not hesitate to comply with Article 75 of the 1992 Constitution by proceeding to Parliament for ratification. The government...
Okay, so that's the explanation from the Foreign Affairs Minister, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, explaining that the Government Accountability Series on why the government of Ghana is taking this path to do a third country arrangement with the US on the deportees. Concerns about human rights and others are coming up. And Nana Bafwewa is with us because we understand the NPP could be heading to court through some MPs and interested parties in the coming days. Nana Bafwewa, thank you for spending time with us here on Prime Insight. First off, why do you feel this is a constitutional violation, knowing that the minister and by extension government says, well, this is based on humanitarian grounds? That's the explanation being given now.
Thank you very much. Very respectfully, the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana ought to be consistent. It doesn't make sense for humanity and that's 85. And 75 doesn't say that some agreements should go to Parliament for approval, except humanitarian grounds. Article 75 doesn't say that. The Supreme Court, in interpreting Article 75, in the case of Nana Boakye and Margaret Bamfo versus the Attorney General, stated categorically that all international agreements, treaties, including MOUs, should go to Parliament for approval. And so there is no exception made under Article 75 as to what agreement can go should go to Parliament for approval or should not. And so, respectfully, within the context of the Constitution, there is no exception. Secondly, when we talk of humanitarian grounds, there is no country that is more resourceful than the United States of America. And so, if U.S. is holding people, I doubt that people will risk losing their humanity. For which reason, we should be rushing to find an agreement to receive those people. In any event, President Trump has constantly drummed home why the need to deport such people. And his overriding consideration has been that those people are a threat to the national security of the United States of America and the safety of its citizens. In fact, very respectfully, President Trump has constantly used the word criminals, that he's deporting criminals to where they come from. And so if that is the position, why are we the ones in a rush to receive them?
Yeah, but there's an answer on that. The minister says there are checks. No one on the Interpol list will be accepted into the country. No criminal as well will be accepted into the country. Does that not give you enough assurance?
I doubt what the minister is saying. I trust what President Trump has stated. President Trump has constantly said that they will be writing grace for the people of the United States of America and that they are criminals. You've heard it, haven't you?
Except to say that I'm not aware of the individuals who are being brought into our country now. 40 more of them, we understand, will be coming. So let's move to the aspect of...
You are not aware.
Yeah.
I am not aware.
Right.
But what we know is what President Trump has said.
Yeah, why don't you want to believe President Mahama and choose to believe Trump? Because your president is President Mahama.
No, we all know why Trump bought it from America. So, having said on many the big and Trump right?
Okay, Nana, this is what I want us to do. Let's talk about what action will be taken by some of you in the NPP now in the coming days. Will this go to court eventually?
The court has taken its position in the case of Margaret Bamfo, Nana Boakye versus Margaret Bamfo. In terms of going forward when possible, I think that obviously the between like and the house or not without. And those that will be stopped. You that there are bad. that it was our federal that gave the task. Sadly, the Attorney General was very involved not in the decision of the first one.
Yeah, we seem to be having a challenge hearing you, probably because of the network connections. But that's Bafo Iwa there, who's Minsha South MP, explaining to us that, of course, this is grounded in case law, a reason for which the NPP is unhappy about this. Let me also come in studio and tell you about my guests. We have Wanda Victor Kutop, who is a member of the National Executive Committee of the National Democratic Congress, also a board member of the Volta River Authority. Thank you, sir, for your time here on the show. Kamal Amasama Bruni is a leading member of the Alliance of Foot Soldiers Advocacy Group, AFA. Thank you both for your time here. You've heard the Minsha South MP also explain what the case is. But in the course of the conversation, I'll come back to the studio audience to get their thoughts on that before we move into the Asidu Nketia case. But you are a lawyer as well, so you tend to understand perhaps where Bafo Iwa is coming from. Article 75 is clear that when you're doing all of these arrangements, yes, it might be diplomacy, you are doing an in-camera negotiation, but in the end, you must update the people of Ghana on what exactly you're doing. 40 more individuals will be coming into this country. And most of them are not, I don't believe there's even a Ghanaian in there so far, looking at the number that the president has put out. So is it not time, and is it not that simple, since you have a 2/3 majority in parliament, for the NDC to just go through the parliamentary ratification process on this?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning to yourself, my brother here, people in studio, and to our viewers.
Right.
I must say that I've kind of listened to what the minister has said. I would have wished that the minister would have indicated the nature of the advice gotten from the Attorney General. Because he said the matter went to cabinet and the AG had given his opinion on it. I would have wished that the minister stated the nature of the opinion received. Well, this is a very simple matter. In terms of receiving the deportees, there's nothing wrong. I mean, I have practiced immigration law quite some time.
You're saying there's nothing wrong with this?
No, the procedure, there's a problem with the procedure. I'm talking about the substance. The substance, receiving persons, there's nothing wrong. Yeah, there's nothing wrong receiving such persons.
Right.
If you look at the various immigration rules across the world on humanitarian grounds, as the president rightly said, there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. But I think the problem many are having is the procedure, which I kind of side in a way. Because if you say memorandum of understanding, do not go to parliament, that is just a heading. What does the content state? If the content appears to be an agreement, then it ought to go to parliament in accordance with Article 75 of the 1992.
So even at the MOU stage, it should still go to parliament, isn't it?
No, that's what I'm saying, that the mere title of a document as memorandum of understanding is not what matters. It's the content. Because if the memorandum of understanding appears to be an agreement, in fact, it ought to go to parliament. I mean, when it comes to the issue of the law, I won't just be speaking as a politician. I want to stick to the law. Right. Like I indicated earlier, in terms of the substance, receiving the person, the minister did no wrong, government did no wrong, it's right, it's proper, I agree with the president on humanitarian grounds. But the procedure is what I will have an issue with. That's why I'm minded. I want to know the nature of the opinion given by the Attorney General. Particularly so when the Honourable Minister says that this matter was discussed in cabinet.
In cabinet, and that's how serious this is. For the AG to clear this, then there might be something else that we ought to know.
Exactly.
Are you not shrouding this as a government in secrecy of a sort?
No. I mean, this government has always been very transparent. You see, my only worry with the posture of the MPP is the inconsistency. You remember the Gitmo 2 issue? They complained, did blah, blah, blah. When they came to power, the people were in this country for the entire period. So they need to be consistent. I'm trying to be consistent here that, look, receiving the deportees, there's no problem. But I thought that the procedure ought to have been reconsidered. Because at the end of the day, we have 2/3 majority in parliament. Yeah, I understand parliament has been on recess, but they can always, under certificate of urgency, recall parliament and discuss this issue. So I don't think the government should have a problem going to parliament to rectify it. But this school of thought as to whether or not Ghana is entirely a dualist state. I mean, this is not a constitutional law class. But in the light of Article 33.5 of 1992 Constitution, Ghana probably not be described as entirely a dualist state, but that's just for academic purposes. People always talk about Article 75, but you need to always read Article 75 in tandem with Article 33.5 of the Constitution, which recognized automatic recognition of human rights and some principles.
But in all Commonwealth countries, the practice is you cannot enforce any international agreement until you do ratification.
That's what I'm telling you.
That's the convention.
I have the Constitution here. I can open Article 33.5 for you. I mean, that's what I'm saying, that Ghana is not entirely 100% dualistic.
So that notion would not stand.
Is there Article 33.5?
Okay,
if you want to read it,
you can go ahead and... Okay, this is 33.5 we're looking at. It says the rights, duties, declaration, and also guarantees relating to the fundamental human rights and freedoms specifically mentioned in this chapter shall not be regarded as excluding others not specifically mentioned, which are considered to be inherent in a democracy and intended to secure the freedoms and dignity of man. Yes. So you're trying to say that regardless of your citizenship, whoever you are, once you come into this country, that should apply to you?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there are some rights that you don't go for ratification. We consider them as automatic.
You feel it's fundamental? But forced eviction is what the US is doing, isn't it? So is Ghana not being complicit in that?
Not necessarily. In the world of immigration, what we call the third safe country rule,
right.
We want to go and look at it. And I want to tell you, let's look at the conditions for deportation. One is that there's an element of fear. That's the first condition, or reasonable fear, such that you cannot return to your home country. That's the first element.
Yes.
The second element is that fear is as a result of maybe your race, your political opinion, and all of that, which is what is preventing you from going back to your home country. Now, the U.S. arrangement said that, look, you cannot go back to your home country because of certain elements. So they are taken to another safe country. And the U.S. purports to have an arrangement sort of with Ghana. The question is whether or not Ghana is a safe country. But I think the bottom line is we need to look at the bigger picture. As Africans, we need to develop our country. Look, if Ghana is well developed, our income level is high, why should somebody have a problem? If U.S. are taking people to Canada, will we be having this discussion? I mean, let's be honest.
So you feel it's because of Ghana?
I'm just saying that if, as Africans, we need to develop our own continent. I mean, that's a bigger picture. We need to develop our own continent. Why should it be a problem if you are brought to another safe country? Because your argument, because the main reason why you cannot stay in your country is the issue of fear and victimization and all of that. You know, when this Abonya issue came that he has applied for asylum, what was the ground he stated? He said that he's being persecuted in his own home country. And that he is pleading on other countries to assist him. He applied to Ivory Coast, US, and what have you. So I'm saying that the bottom line, when it comes to issue of deportation, asylum seeking, and all of that, has to do with fear. And yes, let him land, then I'll come to you, Nana. And that the main reason why you cannot go back to your home country is because of your political opinion, your religion, and all of that. Ghana is a third safe country in this contest. In this contest.
And you saw that Nana is back on the lines. It appears, Nana, you have some challenges with the submission being made now.
So I think that the submission being made by my friend is very respectfully, very unfortunate, to say the least. He proceeded along the lines of, if I may be given the liberty to use the word, placing less emphasis, the phrase or sentence, placing less emphasis on the importance of the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and due regard should be given to it. Breach of the Constitution is such a big matter that should be dealt with. And so we cannot trivialize what has happened. It cannot be trivialized.
Yeah, but he's just read Article 33.5 to you this morning.
It is completely misconceived. The relevance of Article 33.5 to this matter, I doubt where he's getting that inspiration from. But it's completely misconceived. We need to look at the facts at hand. The persons that are being brought in, right? were they found in Ghana prior to the execution of the agreement? No. The Constitution of Ghana applies to the Republic of Ghana and not beyond. And so what is the relevance of Article 33.5 to someone who lives in the United States of America? The term that speaks of, or that will stop, to be relocated of what the Republic of Ghana that I said. They were not in the Republic of Ghana, and so that thing Article 33.5 to be against.
We seem to be losing you again, but his point is made that he seems to have a challenge with the constitutional provisions.
Once you reconnect with him, let me just make some. I mean, the beauty of legal professions that our
you always disagree as lawyers, isn't it?
Yes. Superior basis. I have said here, maybe senior counsel didn't listen to me carefully. I had said here that I have a challenge with the procedure being adopted by the Honourable Minister. I've even mentioned that the mere use of the word memorandum of understanding does not preclude going to Parliament for ratification. Because if the content itself has to do with agreement, then it ought to go to Parliament. And I even made mention of the fact that we have to third majority in Parliament. This should not be a problem, passing it through Parliament and all of that. The bringing in Article 35, as I indicated, was for academic purposes. That look, yes, and Article 75, Ghana appears to be a dualist state. But can we say that Ghana is 100% dualist state in the light of Article 35, just for academic purposes? But in relation to the fact that at hand, I've said that the government did no wrong in accepting such persons into although I have a challenge with the procedure. I mean, I'd stated it right from the
let me bring in Kamal. Kamal, because I recall the demonstration at the time, back in 2016, was it, or was it in 2012? One of these years, when the NPP, of course, was raising all of these issues around the Gitmo 2 people, a reason for which some of you went as far as the Supreme Court on this matter. So how do we resolve this? The issue about procedure and humanitarian grounds. I mean, obviously, the U.S. is not as open to these individuals now. They would have to leave anyway. Now, if I come to Ghana and I'm holding a Nigerian passport, for instance, that's a West African passport. There's no way an immigration official perhaps would have rejected me anyway. I'm not saying forced evictions are okay. But these are, brothers, isn't it?
Yeah, so let's say good morning to my constituents and viewers. I think the NDC is still failing to learn something from the Gitmo 2. That's my position on that, because looking at the ruling that came through the Supreme Court, it should have by now, at least the second coming of President Mahama, should have made him to do things differently. But it's like the status quo still remains. And when I listen to the Foreign Affairs Minister, that is a memorandum of understanding and they were advised or cleared by the Attorney General, as if to say the Attorney General cannot make a mistake. So in the capacity of the Attorney General, the Attorney General himself should have relied on what the Supreme Court's ruling was on the Gitmo 2. Because we all know that the Supreme Court is clothed with the powers of interpretation.
That's right.
So if the Supreme Court had ruled that the Gitmo 2 issue without ratification was unconstitutional, why must the Attorney General still proceed on that tangent? So I agree with the counsel here that when he made the assertion that he has a challenge with what the minister said, because we don't know the details. And when you look at the way the whole thing panned out, it was just like we just woke up, but for this president, nobody... we weren't aware. I don't think Blessed were aware. You are a foreign affairs correspondent for...
I didn't know about it, to be honest.
None of us.
But now the president has told us why they're doing that.
No, but just as you have a parliament, rubber stamp parliament, basically. You can just walk it through, let your MPs approve of it. It would have sufficed. This noise or hula baloo coming out of these things wouldn't have been coming up. Now, this is the case what the minister said. Has to do with us accepting nationals of different countries, not our own nationals. But if it is your own citizens, the U.S. is deporting. There's no agreement that you need to. They are bringing back.
Ghana has always been in that pride of being the Black Star of Africa. This is Pan-Africanism, isn't it?
No, but there are rules and regulations. You just don't accept people by virtue of the fact that even within the ECOWAS system, they are living where another ECOWAS national must be here for at least 90 days.
90 days,
it's not just infinite that the person can be in Ghana without seeking for residence permit and the like. So you don't assume that automatic right because you belong to West Africa. The same West Africa has treaties and rules that are guiding our nationals. So the basic thing the government should have just done was to take the thing to Parliament, draw the attention of Ghanaians, and then rectify it. It's as simple as that.
Wonder you believe same?
Yes, like I indicated earlier, but just to make a very quick point what my senior brother said. So the reason why they cannot be Ghanaians, if they were Ghanaians, they will not be coming to Ghana if they are asylum seekers, because the ingredient of seeking asylum is the issue of fear of going back to your home country. In fact, in 2022, April 2022, UK had a similar agreement with Rwanda.
But that never, the flights never took place.
The UK had an agreement with Rwanda.
They did.
The principle then was that, look, these persons want asylum in the UK. Let's take them to Rwanda, which we think it's also a safe country.
Yes.
So that they can get the asylum in Rwanda. But the UK court declared Rwanda as not safe. So the principle is about safety.
Yeah, but if you look at our case, the president said in that press conference that the individuals were being sent back home.
Yeah.
In fact, the first 14 that were sent back home,
they were sent.
some were Nigerians. They used the bus, he says, and there was only one Gambian who had to do a flight. So the nature of the...
And that they are talking to their embassy here,
so that they can get a flight for him. Yeah. So it looks like the nature of this arrangement is quite different, isn't it?
Yeah. So then that would mean that Ghana now becomes the safe third country.
So is it asylum, or are we, becoming a conduit for sending these people back home? That's perhaps where the question is coming from. That's
why I said that I would have wished that the honourable ministers give us the nature of the opinion one received by the Attorney General. You understand?
Yeah.
My brother clearly stated that if the AGs are given that an acceptance, then the AG also could be wrong. But I do not have as a fact the nature of the opinion given by the Attorney General, and I want to give the benefit of the doubt
to the AG on that. Let's come into the audience. Perhaps some of you have some concerns on that. Kindly introduce yourself when you're speaking, so we know, which of the universities you're coming from or where you're joining us from. Yes, I think we give the first take to the lady in front. Yes, we can hear you. Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. I am Sewa Franklina, SRC Women's Commissioner for Accra Technical University. So what I want to say is that you can't accept deportees to your country when your own people are also refugees in another country. It is good sometimes because it strengthens relationship with other countries, but not as a time that we have about 48,000 Ghanaians who are refugees in Cote d'Ivoire as a result of conflict. So what do I suggest? I suggest that Ghanaians should rather channel their energy to save their own rather than accepting deportees who are not even Ghanaians. Thank you.
Great point there. But just to, update the record, that we understand that it's now 5,000 people who are across the border. Initially, when the conflict started, over 13,000 of them were there. We just returned with a foreign minister from Vonkoro. I understand the minority, some NPP MPs are also there. They are returning today. So the number now is 5,000. There are some people behind who would want to make some interventions as well. Oh, okay, but before then, we do yours.
Right.
And then.
My name is Christian Tete from Tama West constituency. It is important that we recognize ourselves as human beings. The bottom line is that Ghana is one of the most peaceful country in the continent. So when it comes to the safeguard of individual rights in all spheres, Ghana is assured. We might have our own issues about conflict, moving from other countries, but we have that pride as a country. So as Lawyer Kuto stated, the processes should have been more open up for us to see the details. But I don't see anything wrong with it. Look, Ghana is a safe haven. That anybody that comes out of Ghana is safe and secure in our country, regardless. So it's not a much of a concern. What we must be...
But how about transparency? People want to know what's contained in the
That is the concern now.
The deal.
And this particular government, I know, is an open government. open for consultations, engagement on any matter that is national interest. So at the end of the day, let us bring it on board so that we discuss it further. But I see nothing wrong with it that we are receiving refugees for safe haven purposes.
Yeah,
right.
Great point there. And there are some people behind you who just want to chip in that point quickly. Yes, let's do the gentleman there.
So my name is Professor Brahima from University of Ghana. So I think one of the points I think we are missing from the presidential encounter was that the president categorically stated that these people said they wanted to go to their home countries. So it's not as if, the Ghana, as it were, forcefully sending them back to their homes. But it was an agreement. These nationals opened up and said, they want to go to their countries. Then the presidency provided a way of going to your homes by way of bus. And we are understanding that we are left with just a Gambian who is still, yet to be, sent to his home. So in all these conversations, is at the end of the day, the individuals involved, the 14 people that even came in, gave their consent to be sent to their various homes. And now looking at the relationship we've had with the US, looking at these latest visa restrictions, the latest issues on how the US seeks to put tariffs on our goods and whatnot. All these things, in looking at strengthening our relationship with the US, these are some of the things that we need to factor in the diplomatic relationships, such that offering this gesture will not really do more harm, but rather go away to strengthen our relationship with them. We can have the issue about the law side and whatnot, but we have to look at the humanitarian grounds as well. Because if today we are being approached to receive people and we are not as it were, in agreement with them and we are not accepting, tomorrow we don't know what we'll also go to the US for or what we'll also be asking them for on their behalf. So generally, I see that, it's a way of strengthening our diplomatic relationships with them.
Right.
And going forward, when it comes to legalities aspects, that's what, we have to look at. But, if the Attorney General clears it, we should have confidence that there is that genuine and legitimate reason for that.
All right.
All these things, when you look at the process, I think they said there's a vetting process included in terms of accepting them. So that means that it's not just a procedure that we cannot rely on. Basically, it's a procedure or process that it is reliable and we are sure of their safety.
Right. Okay. Thank you. The gentleman behind. Before that, yes.
Okay. I'm Paul from AFA. Paul Amwako from AFA.
Right. Great.
Yeah. Before 2024 elections, the NDs made it that we have about almost 2 million unemployed youth in this country. And then the 24 hours is a game changer. But now looking at the insecurity level of this country, and then we are deporting people who are termed as criminals back into this country.
Yeah, I think, are you sure these are criminals?
No, the Trump named them as criminals. So they are criminals coming back into this country. And then looking at the insecurity level in this country, I think the youth are disappointed. Many of us, because we want employment, and the insecurity level here, and also deporting these people here. Well, I think the security level will still be in shambles. So this is a wrong move. And then many of us, especially the youth, we are supporting the government. In fact, we are disappointed. You don't want us
to bring these individuals in?
No, we are not even the security level in this country is at stake. Today, conference here, wars here, other things here, and then we are still deporting criminals here. I think it's a wrong move. For now, we want the security to be stable, so that the 24 economy will work, and we all get employment and free.
Okay, any more takers? I think there's a gentleman behind, then we'll come to you. Yes.
Okay. So my name is Emmanuel Swanzibafo. I'm from Takwa Insoi. I'm a student of engineering at the University of Mines and Technology. Right. So I think in my view, one of the key things that we need to look at is that the US as a country is causing us to commit international crimes that they would not want to commit. Because as a sovereign country, we are a member state to the United Nations. And for that reason, it means that we are bound by certain international conventions. The two that I will speak of is the 1951 Refugee Convention, right, and then also the Convention Against Torture, which requires that a country ought to protect citizens of other countries who are bound to be persecuted in their country, in their safe zones or territories. So that is basically what Ghana is supposed to do in this particular agreement. But is that what we are seeing? No. We are in a situation where we are getting the deportees here, and then there are actually plans to take them back to the so-called countries where they don't feel safe. You understand? So far, out of the 14 that were brought in, about 3 of them have been sent already. Now we are making plans to send back the 11 remaining, and then there are even plans to receive 40 more into our country. So it means that we are now committing the international crime, not the US. They have outsmarted us by getting us to accept the deportees here as the so-called friendly country.
Yeah, but how about the humanitarian explanation?
It becomes a humanitarian, if you want, sort of an endeavor. If we are actually keeping them here in our country, if we are keeping them safe here. But it's not as if we are keeping them here. You are receiving them and rather what? Taking them back to their countries. And that is where it becomes a problem. The last thing I'll speak of, on the 13th of March 2025, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, on the floor of Parliament, justified, or not even, it was not even a justification, he was basically briefing the House about the plans of the Trump administration. And when he was giving details of reasons why these deportations were ongoing, there was no mention of asylum seekers. They only gave clarity or particular mention to, if you want, citizens of other countries who have their visas expired, or those who have committed criminal offenses. So if you are deporting such people, it is no problem. But these are asylum seekers. And Ghana, as a sovereign country bound by these international laws that I've actually spoken of, the Convention Against Torture and the 1951 Refugee Convention, we have a responsibility to keep such citizens safe. And so we find ourselves in a position where if care is not taken, our international image out there will be jeopardized. And it's something that we need to really correct.
Let me do the last take from behind, and then we'll close the chapter on this one.
Okay, my name is Moses Osei-Bonsu from University of Ghana. I would like to say something, that when the people, they were at the detention center in the USA, they didn't even know that they were even being deported to Ghana. All they saw is that they were in Ghana.
But how do you know that?
Oh, yes. When you read the case, you see it there. You see it there. That's, we are going somewhere. Then you just bring them to Ghana. And the truth of the matter is that these people, they do not want to go to their country. The judge has given them, the USA judge has given them, what's the name?
Protection.
Yes, that they shouldn't go back to their countries.
Yes,
do you get it? But because of it, to create fear. But you Ghanaians, we've accepted them and we are trying to deport them to their country. We are trying to take them back to their country. I feel it's not right. It's not right because they are afraid of going to their country, and we are bringing them in Ghana. We've brought them to Ghana, and we are trying to also take them back to their country.
Okay, great points there. So let's look at what will happen next, and then I'll come to my guests to wrap up on this chapter. Nana Bafo is with us. So Nana, what do you plan to do in the coming days? Let's briefly, if you can just close the chapter on that for us. We've lost him there, but of course you've heard the reactions from the audience. They feel that government ought to be a bit more open about this.
Yeah, I agree, except to add, again, by way of education, when we say people are criminals, these are criminals, let's be very careful because of the presumption of innocence. Have the people been tried? Have they been tried by a court of competent jurisdiction? So just refer people as criminals.
You feel we shouldn't be calling them criminals?
No, because, we all know that before you can say somebody is a criminal, the person ought to have gone through a certain level of trial. It would be unfair to see even a mere allegation does not qualify to make somebody a criminal. Also, I just want to call on the Foreign Affairs Minister that there are also some pressing needs foreign affairs matters. Ghanaians now, when they go for US visas, 3 months. 3 months. And they have to go and pay about $150 and all of that for single entry. In the past, it used to be 5 years visa, and all these are a result of reciprocal arrangements. So he should leverage on all these agreements.
Okay, so you want the agreement to stand? So we leverage on that and get what we also want.
I'm saying that if government is bent on pushing this agreement and all of that.
Yeah.
It should inure to the benefits of the larger Ghanaian. I mean, why do we have government? It's to serve. So I'm just calling, it's a passionate approach to the honourable minister, and I know he's a listening person. Look, Ghanaians are really struggling. I mean, why should somebody go and struggle to get a date, go and be in the queue and just to get a 3-month visa? Then after 3 months, if you want to go back for a conference in the US, you need to pass through the same process again and be paying $150. In the past, it used to be 5 years at the minimum. So I think that the Foreign Office Minister should use his office to help the people of Ghana in this manner.
Kamal, let's wrap up with you.
Yeah, so Blessed, the purpose of asylum seeking has to do with you having fear or any reason for which you are running away from your own home country. So if regardless of any processes, another country will have to, the country you are seeking an asylum from, will have to bring you to another country only for them to take you back. It defeats the purpose of asylum. So we should get it clear, regardless of the explanation the government gives. As long as the people come here, and we are not keeping them here, because if you are talking of humanitarian grounds, I don't think, the purpose of humanitarian grounds compared to Ukraine, other European countries have opened their border. That is humanitarian. They don't take them and then pass them on to another country and say, keep them. So if we are talking of humanitarian grounds, we should keep them here and not send them back to their home country where initially they ran away from. Now, this is Ablakwa himself in Parliament, sometime back. He said, Mr. Speaker, let me just, Mr. Speaker, this judgment now means that is referring to the Gitmo 2. This judgment now means that every note verbal and every memorandum of understanding that the government of Ghana enters into with another foreign entity must come to Parliament for rectification. So I don't know why the same person today is giving us different...
And this was a statement you say on the floor of Parliament.
The floor of Parliament. So the Honourable Foreign Affairs Minister should be seen to be a man of principle, stay true to his word, because we all know, you are within that field, that diplomacy credibility also matters.
But can we really stand to the US and say we won't accept these individuals?
But bless you, we're a sovereign country. So it tells you, per this question... what?
Because you take aid from the US,
yeah, so
you're receiving so much
this
from the
question,
US.
What I'm deducing is that then the memorandum of understanding is coming with some goodies. Perhaps that's why the government accepted it. That's the understanding I get from your question.
Okay. Well, because we don't know the details of the arrangements, we wait to see what the government will say in the coming days about it. Nanaiwa, in just a minute, wrap this up for us. What will you be doing in the coming days about this? Yeah, today is just not a favorable day in terms of the lines.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Nana, I'm just asking what you'll be doing. In a minute, tell us what you'll be doing in the coming days about this.
There are still a lot of things on the table. There's a possibility of going to court. There's a lot of, there's also the possibility of highlighting that they don't take up. But it's more important the type of wish of the
Okay, we seem to be having that challenge again. Not a good day for the phone lines now.